Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. A warm welcome to today's session, Gronthee Facebook Live Series, Episode 7, 100 Poets Around the World for Love. Most of you are already familiar with these phenomenal, groundbreaking initiatives that Gronthee has taken, connecting poets from one corners of the world to the other corner through the haunting and captivating verses of poetry and the poetry that connects love, the basic of humanity. And through this initiative, as you know, we try to feature phenomenal poets of this time from different languages and their thoughts on poetry, their thoughts on love, their thoughts on theme. Many thanks to all of the poets who have already joined and who will be joining in future sessions, and especially who today who have joined as part of this series. And many thanks to all of the audiences who are supporting this initiative meaningfully through leaving some inspiring comments. So, ladies and gentlemen, this session is streaming live from Gronthee's page, as you know, and this will be streaming live soon from my page as well. Let me see just a second. Apology for this. I'm just going to check whether I can share this to my profile so that you can share from my profile. And let me check. So this session is on live now, and this is available in my page, so you can share from my page as well. And please do share. Please do help us by sharing, by leaving your suggestion and inspiring comments. And through your sharing, you are actually helping your friends to be connected with a beautiful session of poetry, especially during this pandemic. As you know, this poetry can be in your association so meaningfully, especially when we are in emotional vacuum phase. Poetry can help you in many ways. Poetry is remedy. Poetry is a ventilation, as you say. Poetry is also redemption for the readers. And Gronthee is so delighted to feature some wonderful poets of this time, like I said before. Part of the series now. So, ladies and gentlemen, please do share. And I am introducing our panel members today. First of all, let me introduce the almost like sort of regular panel member for this series, a spoken word artist and a wonderful friend of us, Shaheen Mitul. Many thanks, Shaheen, for joining as part of this series and supporting meaningfully for this session. And a warm welcome to today's session.
Thank you. Heartiest welcome to our distinguished guests, poets today. It is a pleasure to have you here as part of Gronthee's initiative, 100 Poets Around the World for Love. Looking forward to a great afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you. As you know, the Gronthee is a platform that promotes more or less predominantly South Asian literature, new voices, experimental literature. Gronthee started its journey about 30 years ago with an aim to promote experimental, powerful voices. I mean, 30 years ago, it was more or less quite South Asia centric. But quite fortunately, this is becoming a globe-centric, world-centric platform, and many wonderful poets of this, of this time, supported, joined as part of Gronthee's uh, live events, or sort of publishing, especially the literary magazine that Gronthee publishes, from different languages, from different culture, and especially it is well known for its remarkable uh, festival, which is supposed to happen this year as well in Oxford University. But for COVID, we perhaps have to postpone this. This is International Poetry Festival. And Gronthee is aiming to have all those poets we are interacting with as part of this festival very soon. So many thanks for all the contributions from all poets, especially, and then poetry lovers to Gronthee. We have also another panel member, Shamim Shahan, poet Shamim Shahan, who is the editor and the leader of the Gronthee, who founded the Gronthee about 30 years ago in Bangladesh, and now it is flourishing gradually and connecting poets from, especially powerful poets from different countries, different languages. So Shamim Shahan, welcome to today's session, and many thanks for all the hard work you did and you keep doing.
Good evening. Today is the 7th day of 100 Poets Around the World for Love as part of the Gronthee Facebook Live series. I cordially welcome Bolivian poet Micaela Mendoza, Bengali poet from Bangladesh, poet Kamal Chowdhury, Bengali poet from India, Ranjit, Iranian poet Alireza Abiz, and Pagan poet Matt Jones. Poet friend and my brother T M Ahmed Kaysher was already introduced about Gronthee initiative. The Gronthee is one of the top platform for South Asian literature, philosophy, and sociology in Britain. We start with a bunch of friends at the beginning at early 1990s. That was purely Bangladesh centric. Now it is becoming quite global platform. The Gronthee, the people we invite to this platform have created their own location from their respective places. It may be poetry, stories, article, novels, or criticism. From the beginning of the Glen to the present day, everyone is doing the work on their own way, their own. We like to express my sincere gratitude to those friends, including poet Jafi Shetu, poet Murtaka Ahmed Din, poet Mahbub Lilen, poet T M Ahmed Kaysher, novelist Ahmed Minhaj, poet Halal Ahmed Chowdhury, poet Laik Ahmed Numan, and many more. The Gronthee has been able to conquer to the country and created a unique platform in the world. The series that we have started on this Facebook Live is being watched from over the world. Getting and love to all who are watching this today's show. Thanks to everyone, including one of our team member, Shaheen Mitul. Thank you.
Many thanks, Shamim Shahan. Let me just briefly introduce that we are featuring today as part of this session, Micaela Mendoza Hagglund, who actually joined from Bolivia, a phenomenal poet of Bolivia. Many thanks, Micaela, for joining as part of this session, and a warm welcome to today's session.
Hello, thank you for the invitation. I'm excited to be here, and yeah, I want to enjoy the words to the world today. So thank you so much.
Exactly. Many thanks. And also we have a phenomenal Iranian poet, Alireza Abiz. Many thanks, Alireza, for joining as part of the series, and a welcome to today's session. Can you hear me, Alireza Abiz? I think you are on mute.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Thank you very much.
So thank you.
Thank you very much. Hello to everyone who is watching, and also the respected panelists. I am very happy to be here with you, and thank you for your invitation.
Great. I also would like to introduce Ranjit Dash, a wonderful poet, a very powerful poet from Bengal, especially in India. Many thanks for joining Ranjit Dash as part of the series, and a warm welcome to today's session. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Great.
Thank you very much. I would love to be a part of this wonderful evening, and I greet you all.
Great.
Maybe my poet.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'll come back to you soon. We also have a wonderful Pagan poet based in UK, Matt Jones. Many thanks, Matt, for joining as part of the series. You joined in some of the sessions before. You also joined as part of the Gronthee International Poetry Festival last year. Many thanks for your great contribution to Gronthee, and a warm welcome to today's session.
Thank you, Ahmed, and thank you, Shaheen Mitul. It's wonderful to be with you all again. And hello to fellow poets. I hope all is well in the world where you are.
Great. We also have Kamal Chowdhury, who joined from Bangladesh, a phenomenal poet, a very powerful poet from Bangladesh. Many thanks, Kamal Chowdhury, for joining as part of this series, and a warm welcome to today's session.
Thank you very much. Greetings from Dhaka, Bangladesh. I'm really happy to be with you.
Exactly.
And poets are like birds, and today we will be connected through our, the poems with the world. So thank you very much for inviting me in this poetry session. Thank you once again.
Exactly. Let's spread the beauty and the power of words through this session, and that is the request to each one who are watching. Please do share and help us reach the rest of the world with the power and the beauty of the words. This is streaming live now from my page, my profile page, and Gronthee's page. So easily you can find the link and then you can share. Micaela and all of our fellow panelists, did you manage to find the link okay? And did you manage to share in your timeline, if that's okay? If you are in Facebook, Alireza, Mark, did you manage to? You all found it okay? This is available in my profile page. So if you want to share, please feel free to share and let your friends be the part and followers be the part of this session. Great. Let us start with Micaela. If you kindly read 2 or 3 poems first, and like I said, I will come back to you. But let us ask a very common question that we are very keen to know. How do you connect love with your poetry? How do you connect the paradigm of love with the poetry? Because I know love is a very vast theme. It is seated in every being, actually. It is seated in everything, literally. But briefly, if you could tell us how love influences you, or both philosophically or structurally, when you write poetry.
I think that love is the path of art. It's a creative energy, and with love, we can sublimate feelings and do art. And also, I think that love is a human right. And with love, we can do so many creative ways to see what we have inside and expand it outside. So without love, we can't find a way. So is love is a synonym of art. And I'm gonna start to I'm gonna start to read a poem that I write it in Rajasthan when I was visiting desert of Thar.
Rajasthan in India. So have you visited Rajasthan recently?
Yeah. In 2000.
Great, fantastic. So love for India is always there.
And I finished this poem in Bolivian's salt desert. It's a very beautiful white desert.
Micaela, just a second. Before you start reading, this is very interesting that you visited India, Rajasthan. So it looks like love for India is always with you. But let us have a brief introduction from Mitul. Mitul, if you kindly do a brief introduction on Micaela before she starts her reading.
Micaela Mendoza Hagglund was born in 1981 in La Paz. She is Bolivian-Swedish poet, transpersonal psychologist, and linker of women's circles. She continued a career in psychology. She's also the national coordinator of the Music Therapy Association in Bolivia, MUSA. She published the book La Magico Sombrío in 2010. She is also the creator of the eco-feminist fanzine Falinas in 2012 in Sucre. She has participated in national and international festivals, publications, and poetry anthologies. In 2016, she released the musical and poetic sound disc Ether together with the Mandela Project. Her book, Articos Sonoros, is awarded as the first National Poetry Prize, Opera Prima 2018 in Bolivia. Thank you.
Thank you, Mitul. Micaela, over to you. If you kindly read your poem.
Okay. Desérticos. Recorro filigranas, arena entre arena de hondo peregrinaje. Del polvo vengo y en polvo me convierto. Del polvo vengo y en polvo me convierto. Parajes de cactus, átomo por átomo, entre fósiles y espinas. Del polvo vienes y en polvo te conviertes. Del polvo vienes y en polvo te conviertes. Faunas nómadas, duna tras duna, cual safaris de reptil. Del polvo vienen y en polvo se convierten. Del polvo vienen y en polvo se convierten. Antiguas rabanjatas, oasis por oasis, entonan pueblos gitanos. Del polvo vendrán y en polvo se convertirán. Del polvo vendrán y en polvo se convertirán. Tribus indómitas, desiertos entre desiertos. Atacama, Uyuni, Sahara, Tar.
Yeah, please continue with another one. Great. Yeah. Many thanks.
This poem is about the storms. I have translated this in English, so I first gonna start with the Spanish version and then English version.
Sure.
Desarrollé la conciencia de las tempestades amortiguando lluvias entre los nudos de mis cabellos. Supe que había recogido a las hijas del relámpago cuando la tormenta ahogó todos los espasmos. Salí del huracán entonando requiems de destierro planetario, como quien celebra su ida, detonándose a sí misma en meteóricas semillas. I developed the awareness of storms, buffering rains between the knots of my hair. I knew I had collected the daughters of lightning when the thunder drowned all the spasm. I got out of the hurricane, singing requiems of planetary exile, like someone who celebrates their escape, detonating herself in meteoric seas. Thank you.
Many thanks. Many thanks, Micaela, for this beautiful reading. Very musical. So, was your visit linked to music when you visited Rajasthan? Music of Rajasthan, because you seemingly have a very profound interest in music too.
Yeah, the gypsy music, the gypsy music of the desert. Yeah, I was visiting also, yeah, Godpur, Udaipur. There are so many cities in India. I love.
Wow. I'll have to talk to you in different notes, in different session about this, because we promote global music, especially Indian classical music here in the West, and you may find it very interesting. Many thanks for joining. Quite coincidentally, just before the lockdown started, I managed to watch a beautiful film, underground filmmaker on immigration, especially migration, I should say, Bolivia. That is called Bolivia. I forgot the director's name. In NFT, National Film Theatre, just by the River Thames, South Bank Center. And it became one of my favorite films as well, the way the pain of immigrants were depicted. Great, fantastic. Many thanks, Micaela. I'll come back to you again. Let us start with a phenomenal poet of Bengal, Kamal Chowdhury. Many thanks, Kamal Bhai, for joining as part of this series. Mitul, if you kindly read a brief introduction on Kamal Chowdhury, and then we'll go to him for his reading and talk.
Sure. Dr. Kamal Chowdhury, one of the most prominent poets of Bangladesh, was born in 1957. He did his master's in sociology and later obtained a PhD in anthropology. His journey into poetry began in the mid-70s, and by 1981, he had published his first collection, Michiler Shaman Boyoshi, which means as old as the procession. Over the next 4 decades, he published a further 22 volumes of poetry, including a book of poems for young adults. 3 anthologies of his poems have been translated into English, and a travel diary was also published during this time. His poems have also been translated in different languages, including Hindi, German, Chinese, Korean, Arabic, Swedish, etc. Mr. Chowdhury's contribution to Bengali poetry has been recognized through numerous awards from home and abroad, including the prestigious Bangla Academy Sahitya Puruskar in 2011. He is the Fellow of Bangla Academy and life member of Bangladesh Asiatic Society. He was the former Principal Secretary to the Prime Minister of Bangladesh. As an officer of Bangladesh Civil Service, he also serviced in different capacities, including Secretary Information, Secretary Education, Senior Secretary, Public Administration, etc. Thank you.
Thank you, Mitul. Welcome again, Kamal Bhai, to this session. let us start with perhaps reading from you. We are looking forward for your reading. And I can see there are many audiences who actually left comment. I'll come back to you, Mitul, if you kindly read some comments after Kamal Chowdhury's reading. So Kamal Bhai, if you kindly tell us, just before we start reading, if you kindly tell us how love, I mean, whenever you see people are uttering the word love, would you see anything, or would you see just, some words of meaninglessness, or the word, this word doesn't mean actually something meaningful, or
Thank
you
you.
see something quite meaningful?
Thank you, Mitul, Mithuli, for your kind introduction. It's very comprehensive introduction. And the question asked by Kaysher is a very difficult question, because you see, poetry is a subjective matter, and love is also subjective. It's very difficult to, you see, define love and how I am infusing love in the poetry. So it's very difficult to answer. But what I understand that poetry is something, you see, if your own language, you see, there always the language has denotations, language has connotations, language has speed, language has rhythm, language has something to say other differently. So poetry is something like that, that poetry can think in that way, and it can encompass everything of a language. So love, hatred, frustration, everything, in fact, we are composing through language, and that is our poem. So, but if you just specifically ask me about love, then what I will say, because I love poetry. A poet cannot be, you see, born in the school, but it's a very natural thing. So because we are writing poetry, and then we are making it, you see, the normal poem. So those are the techniques. But you see, you cannot make poet through you see, any engineering technology or something like that. So you must infuse love in your poem so that you can reach to your audience, the global readers. Otherwise, the connection between the readers, connection with the poet, there will be a missing link. So the responsibility of the poet should bridge that missing link, so that we can love our readers, and readers can also love us. So that is the, I said, what should be the motto of a poet. In fact, we are now in a very crucial situation, a pandemic situation. And in this pandemic situation,
how is the pandemic situation in Bangladesh now, Kamal Bhai? If you briefly can.
Yeah, you see, the Bangladesh situation, still we are in, we are taking, you see, the major, we are in fact facing it cautiously, and our government is very also active about this. But Bangladesh is a country of 160 million people, so it's very difficult to, you see, the control everything. But still, so our, you see, the death rate is under control, but contamination, that is also happening. So we are also in fact under lockdown for a long time. But now, you see, the loosely, in fact, we are maintaining that lockdown. Still, we are maintaining the health, you see, the norms and everything. That is, which is very important for facing the challenge of the pandemic, because we don't know what type of is from where you see, our enemy is coming. So still we should take care of this, so that we can also save ourselves, and we can also, you see, save our country and also the world. So this is the situation, in fact, we are facing, and our country is also trying hard, so that all over the world, in fact, we are now under lockdown, under now pandemic situation. In this situation, when strictly we were following our lockdown situation, at that time, I have written a poem. I will read it in Bangla, but first, because then I'll just I will read out the English translation. So the Bangla, I will start with that pandemic poem, because I have written more pandemic poem, but still, I will just read out one now. I'm sorry that Bangla will not be understood by my friends, There are UK friends, Bolivian friends, Iranian friends, but I will read out the translation also. But only Ranjit Das can understand Bangla. So, and also other Kaysher, Shamim and Mitul. So for you, I think I should read Bangla, and also there are many audiences. In fact, they also listen Bangla from us, because Bangla is our the language. So we love Bangladesh. So গৃহবন্দী কবিতা, এখন খোলা আকাশের নিচে ফাঁকা ধূলিকণা, তুমি পরিমাপ করো শূন্যতা, আমার কাঁপন থেকে দূরে যেতে যেতে প্রতিটি গলির মোড়ে, সড়কে রাস্তায় তোমাকে খুঁজছে যারা, তারা অকারণ জ্যোতিচিহ্ন, তারা রুদ্ধ ধ্বনি। চড়া গলায় যে ভাষণ দিচ্ছে সে নিঃসঙ্গতা, তুমি চিৎকার করো কেউ শুনতে পাবে না। অলিক দূরত্বে গৃহবন্দী কালের উৎসবে তোমাকে খুঁজছে অচেনা অসুখের ভয়, মাস্কের মুখোশ, অ্যাম্বুলেন্সের গন্ধে সতর্ক স্বজন। মহামারী কাল শেষে তোমাকে খুঁজবো আমি, আতঙ্ক সময় শেষে তোমাকে খুঁজবো আমি, অন্তরীণ বাতায়ন খুলে তোমাকে খুঁজবো আমি। রোদ উঠলে বলবো চলো হেঁটে আসি, ফুটপাতে দাঁড়িয়ে চা খেতে খেতে ঝুলে যাওয়া বিকেলের রোদে বইপাড়া থেকে হেসে উঠবে পরিচিত গ্রন্থরাজি। কবিতা, দর্শন, সম্পর্ক, ভবিতব্যের বিতর্ক শেষে হেসে উঠবে অতৃপ্ত পাঠক। গধূলি দেখবে আমরা আছি, নশ্বরতা আছে, জীবনের গানও আছে। So English translation, it's translated by another the famous poet of Bangladesh. He is Muhammad Nurul Huda. Lines from Home Quarantine. Still bleak dust particles hang down an open sky. As you start measuring emptiness, those who look for you in the bends of lanes, streets and walkways, stepping far from winds trembling, their useless punctuation and close sounds. The one lecturing loudly is emptiness. You may shout, but none will heed you. At a baseless distance of the festivity of home quarantine, you are being hunted by the fear of a strange virus, mask cover, carrying near and dear ones, smelling an ambulance. After the pandemic period, I shall search you out. After the dreadful time, I shall search you out. Opening the closed window, I shall search you out. I shall propose a walk followed by rise of sun rays. Sipping at teacups on roadside walks in the afternoon with the sun pale and down, familiar books will smile in the book fair. After debates on poetry, philosophy, relation and future, the discontented readers shall burst into laughter. Twilight shall see, we are all there. Frailty alongside the song of life is also there. নশ্বরতা আছে, জীবনের গানও আছে। So should I read another one poem?
If we can read another one, Kamal bhai, many thanks. Beautiful. Beautiful poem of Corona. Beautiful poem that is written during this difficult unprecedented time of Corona. Thank you.
Okay, so next poem. So first, next poem would also be, I'll read in Bangla first, and then I'm going to read it in English also. Choto Kobita, it's a small poem. রূপকথা। মৃতদের গাছে আমি ঝুলিয়ে এসেছি সাদা কবুতর, তোমরা শান্তি রাখো। খসে পড়া পাতার শরীরে পালকের ওম বেঁধে দেব বলে আজ এই জাদু বাস্তবতা। যতটা নির্জন দেশ আরো বেশি শিশু পাণ্ডুলিপি, হাত সাফাইয়ের মেঘে উড়ে যাচ্ছে অচেনা চাদরে। সেখানে মৃতের স্বপ্ন ঝুলে থাকে সুখ সারিদের ডালে। আমার ঝুলন্ত শান্তি, ওগো শান্তি, রূপকথা লিখে লিখে পার হয়ে যাচ্ছি কোলাহল। Fairy tales. In the trees of the dead, I have hung a white dove. You can call for peace now, because I will tie on the body of fallen leaves a mystic om. Magic realism beckons this day. Lonelier than this land are manuscripts of innocence. Breathed, they ascend on clouds riding on unfamiliar rocks. The dreams of the dead hang on boughs where doves perch. My peace that dangles so, oh peace that I crave. Fairy tales rise as I traverse tumultuous realms. Next one, that is also a small one.
Right.
So I am reading in English. Dreaming of rain and sunshine. I am handing over my wet poems to birds' beaks, for only they know how to translate them. Arched between intense and lighter clouds, they steer the air every day. But just because postmodernists are all worked up, they won't give up the dreaming of rain and sunshine. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Many thanks, Kamal Bhai, for this beautiful reading from your powerful verses. I can recall those days when I was reading you, especially at the beginning stage of Gronthee, and we were so much keen to develop our own style and especially experimental poetry. And we were searching different styles, different dimensions to make ourselves kind of a bit visible in different way. Anyway, you are still lyrical. Your poetry was lyrical before, and your poetry is so much lyrical, so much musical. Many thanks, Kamal Bhai. I'll come back to you again. Mitul, if you kindly read some audience's feedback.
Sure. Jofi Shetu, সবাইকে অভিনন্দন. Jauhar Hussain, today's participants are very qualified and experienced. Best wishes to everyone. I'm foreseeing a very promising program. Bhavnagar, অসাধারণ আয়োজন, সকলকে অভিনন্দন. তাপস রায়, নমস্কার. গৌতম গুহ রায়, গ্রন্থি ভালোবাসায় কাব্যিক উচ্চারণে দুর্গত বিশ্বে মানববন্ধনে যে আয়োজন করেছে তাকে অভিনন্দন. ভালোবাসাই একমাত্র ঔষধ বিপন্ন বিশ্বকে রক্ষা করার, কবিরাই পারে সেই মন্ত্রের উচ্চারণ করতে. শামীম রেজা, আজকে আমার প্রিয় কবি কামাল চৌধুরী এবং কবি রণজিৎ দাসকে শুনতে কান পেতে আছি. তিনি আরো লিখেছেন, স্মার্ট কায়সার বন্ধু শাহান ও মিতু, তোমাদের ধৈর্য ভালোবাসায় আমরা অভিভূত। মোল্লা মাহফুজ আল হোসেন, বেস্ট উইশেস টু পোয়েট কামাল চৌধুরী। সৈয়দ আহমদ মজুমদার, আমার প্রিয় কবি কামাল চৌধুরী স্যারকে দেখে খুব ভালো লাগছে। নিখিলেশ রায়, গ্রন্থির এর আয়োজনের সামনে বিস্ময় আর মুগ্ধতার অপেক্ষায়। Sri Ganguly, this is beautiful. Tanvi Mukammel is watching.
Yeah. So many thanks those who are watching. Some of them are quite a very good friend and were featured as part of the series. Tanvi Mukammal was also featured as part of the series. A wonderful an architect of post-war, post-independence Bangladeshi cinema. And then Shamim Raja is also part and parcel of the series for his meaningful contribution, meaningful support. Jofish Shetu, Gautam Guhurai was featured as part of the series as well. Perhaps the last episode before that, and many thanks to all those poets who have been supporting this initiative. Sri Ganguly also was featured as part of the series, a UK-based fiction writer. Many thanks, Shri. Many thanks to those who are watching and supporting this initiative. So let us go back to Alireza Abiz, an Iranian poet. Mitul, if you kindly read a brief introduction on Alireza.
Alireza Abiz is an Iranian poet, literary critic, and translator. Abiz has written extensively on Persian contemporary literature and culture. His scholarly book, Censorship of Literature in Post-Revolutionary Iran, Politics and Culture since 1979, is forthcoming by I.B. Tauris. He has so far published 5 collections of poetry in Persian: Stop, We Must Get Off, Spaghetti with Mexican Sauce, I Can Hear a Tree from My Desk, 13 by 1 Kushangi Street, and Black Line, London Underground. Abiz is an award-winning translator and has translated some leading English language poets including W.B. Yeats, T.J. Hughes, Basil Bunting, Derek Walcott, etc. into Persian. Abiz has also worked in the media as a journalist and broadcast journalist and is currently employed as the creative director. He has been working with the Poetry Translation Center for a few years now, leading workshops on poetry from Iran and Afghanistan. Thank you.
Congratulations, Alireza. First of all, you translated one of my favorite Caribbean poet, Derek Walcott. Many thanks. Perhaps we can start with a bit of question that we personally keen to know. How is COVID situation in Iran? And as we all know, Iran is almost like a holy place of art, literature, and music. It was so much such a respected place for poets all over the world because it has such a golden heritage of poetry, music, and especially I am such a great admirer of Sufism. Sufism evolved in that place. So poetry, literature that you preach, I guess, I presume you have some great influence of that golden heritage too. But let us start with how is the COVID situation in Iran? I'm sure you are perhaps self-isolating at home or you are going to work.
Yes, thank you very much. First of all, let me thank Mituli for the generous introduction. Thank you. Well, as you know, Iran was one of the first countries after China and Italy, which faced the first wave of the pandemic. This was back in March. So in April, they managed to control the situation a little bit, but unfortunately we are now in a second wave. So the mortality rate is high, the number of infected people is really high. And because of the crippling sanctions, which has been going on for 40 years, and especially since President Trump came to office, it has been much more strict. Government cannot provide the necessary medical facilities that they need. So this has also added to the natural disaster, which is the COVID-19. Also, in regard to your second point about the Persian or Iranian heritage, especially in poetry and in Sufi poetry, it's worth mentioning that we have 13,000 Indian Persian poets of Indian heritage in Indian subcontinent. So, and
True.
some of the, so it shows that for a large period of time, well, it was the language of literature. You see poets like Amir Khosrow, Bidel, Iqbal, you know, they are all from the subcontinent, but they wrote in Persian. So yes, we do have that heritage, and it makes it very difficult to be a good Persian poet nowadays, because we do have that
Exactly.
that heritage, which is always we have to try to
Exactly.
match to.
When
Yeah.
you have such a powerful heritage, then expectation is always too high, isn't it? I mean, especially I was watching about a week ago, I was watching for 10th time now, Abbas Kiarostami's The Wind Will Carry Us. And then they remember those beautiful verses of poetry that was the central theme of this film. And I think everything came because of that heritage, because this poetry influenced almost all spheres of art in Iran. That is, I presume, actually. And then you rightly said that when you have such a golden, tremendously powerful heritage, then it is a very tough job to be a good poet in Iranian language or Persian language. Let us have perhaps, if you kindly briefly tell us your own interpretation of love, and then if you kindly read 2 or 3 poems, and then I'll come back to you again for the rest of the reading.
To be honest, I personally, and it's just a personal preference, so don't take me wrong,
Yeah.
I prefer compassion over love, because I think this is something that can be more easily defined. It is not as grand and big and vague as love is, so it cannot be misunderstood as love is misunderstood. Because sometimes, especially in modern day self-help books, you always see love yourself. So this promotion of self-love, which I cannot really distinguish much with being selfish, it makes it a little bit difficult to recognize the true value of love, because it is so ambiguous, you cannot define it. But if we at least, let's put a standard and say that, okay, at least we need compassion, and it's an existential requirement, because if we don't have compassion, we will not survive. And I think it's personal and it's political. So nowadays, you see that the world is getting apart because it has lost its human relationship, because we have lost compassion, because we are indifferent to the suffering of others, even if we are directly or indirectly inflicting that suffering on the other people. And we are going around doing our petty lives, being content and happy, and assuming that we love our neighbor or our wife or our kids. But look at the bigger picture in the world. We need compassion.
True. True. Many thanks for this beautiful philosophical interpretation. Great. Thank you. Let us have perhaps 2 or 3 reading from you, Alireza, however you feel comfortable with.
Okay, so because of talking of love, so the first poem I'm going to read is a very short poem about love. It was written in Persian and translated by myself with Bill Herbert, the British poet. It's called The Leopard's Dream. I dream I have swallowed an oak tree, and its branches are spreading in my stomach. Soon it will grow out of my skin. A dove is building a nest on a bough, and the leopard is napping in the shadow of the tree. In the leopard's dream, I am his mother, and I am suckling him. I want to wake up. I'm afraid I may disturb the leopard's dream. Thank you. So the second poem.
Please go on for the next one.
Yeah, the second poem I'm going to read is called Legends. And Legends, well, it is Legends, but at the same time, it's also the name of a bar in Newcastle, where I was doing my PhD some years ago. So it is
Newcastle, Newcastle in UK.
Yes,
Alireza?
yes,
Oh,
Newcastle,
great.
Newcastle.
You were not. You didn't stay far away from me. Actually, I'm based in Leeds.
Oh, okay.
Look, the world is a.
Yeah. So the title of this poem is Legends. This is also translated by myself and Bill Herbert. I am sitting in Legends in a dark corner of the bar, nursing a glass of beer and thinking, in 100 years, just 100 years, none of these people will be alive. Not that one up there on the little stage playing a new track every few minutes, nor those young boys and girls skillfully filling glasses and taking money, nor this crowd moving their bodies unrhythmically, and not me, the melancholic scribbler of these lines, and the almighty God of these words. Not one of us will continue to be. We'll all be lost in legends. From the window of my basement room, only the topmost wintry boughs are visible. I hear the crying of the crows. A cold morning envelops me. In the mirror, another man looks at me with puffy eyes and white hairs in his temples, a two-day beard. He says, look at the world with fresh eyes. Tomorrow night, there is a seminar, Rejuvenate with Love, in the Methodist Church. People of all faith and no faith welcome. The man in the mirror asks me in English, what is your faith? I reply, speak in your mother tongue, with the words that you carry in your mind from the distant past. Speak with the words of your ancestors. Did my grandfather suffer any doubt in his faith? Does my father ever think about this? The world is too brief a space for thought. Thank you very much.
Many thanks. Great. Fantastic. Mitul, if you kindly read some audience's feedback, I'm sure audiences are equally immersed in the beauty and the power of the words by the poets already who have read their poems.
Geeta Upadhyaya, namaskar to these wonderful poets and Kaysherji.
Geetaji is a firm ambassador, or a phenomenal ambassador of Indian classical music here in the UK. She's the founder of a wonderful organization called Kala Sangam, who has been serving to promote Indian classical music and dance, Indian subtle art forms for many years. So many thanks, Geetaji, for watching, and many thanks for your beautiful comment, inspiring comment.
Obhik Rahman, Kamal Chowdhury Bhai, very nice to see you. Ilyas Faruqi, feeling good to be part of this program. Abul Khair, Kaysher Shoho Shabaike Abhinandan. Jawahar Hussain, poet Kamal Chowdhury's poems are so relatable for the current time, and it really is something more. Prem Shupratik Dash, Chamotkar, Bhavnagar, great. Thank you.
Many thanks. It's amazing to see so many poets are watching this. Jofi Shetu, Joy Hussain, and they're watching and leaving beautiful comments. So that's how the exchange develops. That's how I think if poets do support like this, the exchange of poetry, the exchange of ideas can develop constantly, and then through this we can make far better place, far better world that we always dream for. So our next poet is Ranjit Dash. Mitul, if you kindly read a brief introduction on Ranjit Dash.
Ranjit Dash is an eminent Bengali poet known for his powerful urban voice and striking originality. He has published 11 books of poems, 2 collections of literary essays, and 1 novel. His poetry collections include Amader Lajuk Kobita, Ishwarer Chok, Shondhar Pagol, Ashomatto Alingon, etc. A collection of his poems in English translation titled A Summer Nightmare and Other Poems has been published in 2011. He has also edited a large collection of poetry from Bangladesh titled Bangladeshi Shrestha Kobita in 2009. He has received the prestigious Rabindra Puruskar in 2013. His numerous other awards include Birendra Chattopadhyay Memorial Award 1994, Paschim Bongo Bangla Academy Award 2010, and Ramanath Bhattacharya Foundation Award in 2019. Thank you.
Thank you, Mitul. Ranjit, welcome again. And many thanks again for joining this session. So how are you? I know this is again equally easy and very difficult question. When you were asked how are you, you perhaps you feel helpless sometimes.
That I am fine,
Yeah.
and it's a comprehensive statement. I am fine even in this
Ranjit,
situation.
if you kindly come a bit closer to your device so that your voice is becoming clearer.
Is it clearer now? Are you satisfied with my voice?
Exactly, far clearer. Yeah.
Is it okay now?
Exactly. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Or should I go even closer and hug you? But
no, that's fine. That's fine. This is a great balance. This is a great balance, to be honest.
Good. So you are going to ask this formal question about love?
Yeah. Well, this is formal question, but it can be answered quite informally, or it can be answered formally, or you can skip it. Because when you were asked, love is seated in every single particle, I should say. And once someone is asked, what is love? and you feel perhaps helpless sometimes, helpless sometimes to
Absolutely.
answer because this is so vast. So it's up to you if you, however you would like to describe either how love is influencing or has influenced your creativity, especially writing, or how you see love from your writing point of view.
First thing, love is most powerful when you don't talk about it. And asking a poet about love is something like whether he drinks water or not. So I think the poems I'm going to read out in this wonderful session, and I would like to greet my fellow poets from Iran, from Bolivia, from England, and my friend Kamal Chowdhury from Bangladesh. So it's a wonderful evening. So, and let me strike a comical note before I go start reading my poem. You know our Bollywood Hindi film? So there was a famous dialogue between a villain and a hero. It was a very popular Hindi potboiler. So as Hindi film villains do, they talk a lot before shooting. And the hero shoots him and then says this famous dialogue, if you want to shoot, shoot, don't talk. So when I am here to read my poetry.
Great. So your poetry is the, so I got it. Poetry is the reflection of your idea or interpretation of love. We got it. Thank you.
Just on a comical note, but should I start reading my poems? Maybe.
Yeah, please do, please.
So first of all, I will read the original Bengali, maybe 3 poems of mine, and at the same time, the English translations done by myself, so that the larger audience can get some idea about what I'm writing about. Okay, so here I go. Amar Prothom Kobita, my first poem, Ma. It's a poem about my mother. একটি সাঁওতাল মেয়ে জঙ্গলে প্রসব করে জঙ্গলেই ফেলে রেখে গিয়েছে আমাকে। পোকামাকড়ের মুখে এ কথা জেনেছি আমি, দেখেছি এসব কথা ঘুণাক্ষরে লেখা আছে গাছের শাখায়। পাদ্রী ও বণিক আসে, নিঃশব্দে টহল দেয় সমস্ত জঙ্গল। ধাতুর ভাষায় তারা কথা বলে, মনে হয় আমাকেই খোঁজে। লুকিয়েছিলাম আমি ঝর্ণার আড়ালে নগ্ন হয়ে, এখনো লুকিয়ে আছি ঝর্ণার আড়ালে নগ্ন হয়ে। কেউ দেখে ভয় পায়, কেউ বলে জলের দেবতা, কৌতূহল দেখালেই প্রচন্ড পাথর ছুঁড়ে মারি। পোকামাকড়ের মুখে শুনেছি আমার মা সাঁওতাল মেয়েটি খুব নাকি কেঁদেছিল, দেখেছি সেসব কথা ঘুণাক্ষরে লেখা আছে গাছের শাখায়। And here is the English translation done by myself. Mother, a Santhal woman has delivered me in the forest and abandoned me there. I have heard this account from the insects. I have read this account in the hieroglyphs of the woodworms on the tree branches. The merchant and the missionary come together and secretly survey the entire forest. They speak a metallic tongue. It seems they search for me. I hid myself behind a waterfall, stark naked. I'm still hiding behind a waterfall, stark naked. Stray intruders are scared to see me. Some of them think I am the water god. I fiercely throw stones at anyone who shows the slightest curiosity. The insects told me that my mother, that Santhal woman, wept bitterly before leaving me. I have read that account in the hieroglyphs of the woodworms on the tree branches. Thank you. So this is my first poem. Kaysher, should I read another one? Can you hear me, Kaysher?
Thank you. Thank you. Hey, please do, please. Yeah, we can. Yeah, please continue with the second one.
Okay, fine. All my poems are short ones, so don't be afraid about time. So here I go with the love poem. Your question was rather on the philosophical side, and my poem is rather on the passionate side. Piano. I read it in
Wow.
Bengali too. পিয়ানো, তোমার শরীর আমি জানি এক গভীর পিয়ানো। কোনো এক মধ্যরাতে তোমার শায়িত দেহে আপাদ মাথায় আমার আঙুল স্পর্শে জেগে উঠেছিল এক স্বপ্নাতীত সুর, যে সুর পাখিরা গায় জ্যোৎস্নালোকে বেদনা মধুর। একটি মুদারা শুধু সুখ গোঙানির শব্দ ভেদ করে একটি মূর্ছনা উঠেই মিলিয়ে গেল যেন আফ্রোদিতির বেদনা। সেই থেকে প্রতি রাতে পাগলের মতো তোমার চিবুকে, ঠোঁটে, কাঁধে, স্তনে, পাঁজরে, জঙ্ঘায় আমি শুধু খুঁজি সেই হৃদগুলি, সেই গুপ্ত সুরের উদ্ধার। তুমি ভাবো এই লোকটা ভীষণ কামুক নাকি ডুবুরি সর্দার? অন্ধ ঘড়ি নির্মাতার ভাই আমি, তুমি কি তা জানো? তোমার শরীর আমি জানি এক বিলুপ্ত পিয়ানো। Here is the English translation. Piano. Your body, I know, is a profound piano. One midnight, when my fingers caressed your nude, moaning body in bed, suddenly an incredible tune emerged. A tune sung by the birds in the moonlight, sad and sweet. Just one strain escaped out of your erotic groan. Just one sublime strain, feeble but with purest notes. It melted the moment it emerged, leaving the forest bungalow stunned into lusty silence. On every night thereafter, like a mad musician, I searched for those magic reeds in your lips, shoulders, breasts, and thighs. I strive to revive that latent tune, while you wonder whether I am a sex maniac or a strange monsieur of love's pains. I am the brother of the blind watchmaker. Do you know? Your body, I know, is an extinct piano. Thank you.
বাহ বাহ, রঞ্জিত দা, এখানে প্রায় সূর্যাস্ত হতে যাচ্ছে, একটা
আচ্ছা।
ম্লান মধুর, আমি যে শহরে আছি লিডসে, একটা ম্লান অথচ মধুর একটা আলো ঝলমল দিনের শেষ হতে যাচ্ছে, এবং এই সময় একটা একটা গোপন ভুবনের দিকে ডাক দিলেন। তো এটা মানে সন্ধ্যা নামছে, সন্ধ্যার সাথে সাথে শরীরেও একটা আগুন ধরানো কবিতা হলো মনে হলো। আপনি বলছিলেন যে প্যাশনেট সাইড, হ্যাঁ, ওই প্যাশন ও ফিলসফি both become both merge together actually. এটা প্যাশন থেকে, প্যাশনের মাঝেই দর্শন নিহিত, এবং কি সুন্দর করলেন, বিউটিফুল বিউটিফুল।
Thank you very much.
আমরা we are going back to our next poet. Next poet is Matt Jones. Mitul, if you kindly read a brief introduction on Matt, but before you start doing this, if you kindly read some audiences, just to make sure that we are not forgetting. Some of these comments are so inspiring, so insightful. So if you kindly read some 3 or 4 comments from audiences.
Mushtaq Din has written Dekchi. Gita Upadhyaya, there is a great deal of love hidden deep in our hearts. Let's remove the layers, spread its fragrance, bring us together to share and rejoice in life. Prem Shupratik Dash.
Many thanks, Gita ji, for your beautiful input. Mushtaq Din is also a powerful poet, a friend of us. Many thanks, Mushtaq, for watching. Yeah, please go on.
Prem Shupratik Dash, Ashadharan Kabi Ranjit Dash. Jawhar Hussain, Alireza is one of the poets from Firdausi's and Hafiz's homeland. Best wishes to him. Thank you.
Exactly. Great. So if you kindly read a brief introduction on Matt,
Sure.
before we move on to his reading.
Matt Jones was born and currently lives in London, but lived in Worcester for many years. A pagan in the Old English and Norse tradition, he often writes poetry on the stories and in the meters of that tradition. He also writes more usual verses, performing throughout the Midlands and London. A bookseller for many years, he retrained in 2008 to be an actor and has been acting professionally since then as Math Sams. He has understudied a major role in a West End show. Math's collection, The Knotsman, was published on 11th April 2019. Other publications featuring poems of Math are The Other Side of Sleep, Godspell, etc. His other collections include Eagle Split, self-published, and Sabrina Bridge. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mitul. Matt, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Thanks again for the invitation, and thank you, Mituli. I want to say a few words briefly, if I can, about.
Please do. Yeah.
Just want to say a couple of words about Pagan, if I may, because it may not be a familiar usage of the word throughout the world. Perhaps it is. You know, originally pagan was the word the Christians would use for anybody who wasn't Christian. In more recent times, it's been used by people who want to rediscover divinity through those pre-Christian traditions. And so we are creating relationships with a number of goddesses and gods and seeing divinity in those old stories. And so I write a fair bit from those old stories. And the two that I want to read initially now both come from these pre-Christian stories. There is a goddess out of Ireland called Bride or Brigid, so popularly Irish that when they Christianized, they converted her to a saint. And as with many of the Irish goddesses, she had three faces. And I encountered her for the first time at a ritual to celebrate her in the middle of winter a couple of years ago. And I asked a certain favor from her, which she granted. And so in payment of that kind or tribute to that, I wrote this poem for her called Three Fires. They told me of three fires burning in the hills, each at the mouth of a darksome cave. And each one of these three fires would my sweet life save. And evil one of these three fierce fires would put me in my grave. I thought I lacked the strength to climb the shaggy heights, but still the road was keen and kind, and in my face was the dizzying moon, and at my back the wind. My feet walked my mother's race and left my slow companions far behind, and came I to the first of these three fires fierce, where to and from the cavern there came such cries upon the air of hurt from fearsome wounds and pain, and a woman dressed in bloody hands, she asked of me my name. Came I to another of those fires bright, before its cave, from whence there flare such clash of metals as of war and strife. There stood a woman, wild-haired, sweat-stained, and hammer in her hand, and fiercely stared. So came I to the third, and this a fire raged whilst beside, and on a heightened chair, harp upon her lap, a woman smiled, and around her on the air such music sweet and poetry melodious and fair. You did not stay, she said, my sister by, nor go into her bloody cave, for that is bride the healer, who would your sweet life save. Through her ministrations ease you to a gentle grave. And my other sister, I saw you passing by, nor go into her forging cave, for that is bride the metalsmith, blades and spears your life to save, or with her gold and trinkets ornament for you a richer grave. But you have come to me at my darksome door, with harmonies and music from my cave, and I am bride the poet, with melodies sweeter than your life to save. So take the breath of fire, sing, the song shall live, for you take your rest and wonder in a silent grave. My thanks to bride, the healer, the poet, for those words.
Thank you, Matthew. I'm not sure.
There's another story out of the Norse tradition of a god beset with nightmares of his own death. So his mother went throughout the worlds and took a promise from everything that they would not hurt her son. The only thing she overlooked was the mistletoe, which he thought was too young to swear. But as things worked, even though he was vulnerable to nearly everything but the mistletoe, in the end the mistletoe killed him. And his mother went throughout the world asking things.
Have you? I'm not sure whether this is for internet connection or not.
It's the signal.
Your line wasn't quite clear. Mark, can you hear me?
Can you hear me at all?
Yeah. Well, yeah, your line wasn't that clear actually. Anyway, perhaps because of internet connection. Have you already moved to Oxford? Hello. Hello, Matt. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
right.
I can hear you now. Yeah.
Okay. I was well. This is perhaps because of the internet connection. I was wondering whether you moved to the new house that you wrote before. Did you move to Oxford already?
No, I'm in the same place I was before. So.
Right. Thank you, Matt. I'm not sure. I'm not sure why, but I assume this is Let us come back to Micaela. Many thanks, Matt, for this beautiful reading. I'll come back to you.
No,
hello. We can't hear you, Matt.
No, perhaps it does seem maybe
the internet connection is very poor. I think very poor in Europe. Yeah. So, Micaela, if you kindly read rest of your poems. But first of all, the another thing that I would like to explore, how are you spending your time while you are in self-isolation?
You carry on, Ahmed, and yeah, we'll try again later on.
Okay.
Okay. How I spend my time, do you say?
Yeah, what are you reading? What are you doing actually, especially during this
I'm
time, during this
reading
difficult time?
very big
That
book.
gave you an opportunity perhaps to work on our specific uh, projects, specific writing or something like this, or reading. So many things are piled up at our home to read, and perhaps this is a grand opportunity for creative people, especially for poets, to do this. I'm sure we all are doing similar things, but how you are spending your time now? Have you done
Yeah.
any phenomenal project in relation to poetry or music? Because you have a profound interest in music, I can say, gypsy music.
I have I'm reading a book from it's a Robert Graves book. Maybe Matt know
Right.
it. It's a White Goddess. The White Goddess is a very big book about poetry in the cultures, in Europe cultures, in the Celtic cultures. I'm also are in classes of Nad yoga, mantra yoga.
Wow.
So I have a connection with with India all the time. Maybe
Exactly.
in another life I was from India. I don't know.
Wow. 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 Fantastic. Fantastic. Great. Great. We have another Lithuanian poet, Vera, who's a wonderful filmmaker. And I was so amazed to see how she was, because I do promote especially Indian classical music here in the West. And she was so connected to Indian classical music, especially yoga. Yoga is extremely, very strongly connected to music, and especially Indian classical healing music, therapeutic music. Anyway, Micaela, if you kindly read rest of your poems.
Okay.
That's
I'm going to read this poem. It's about Albert Camus' book, A Myth, a Sisyphus Myth. It's about the philosophy
which
of
one? Which one? Which one? Camus, which book?
Camus' book, Albert Camus' book, Sisyphus Myth.
Oh, Sisyphus, the myth of Sisyphus. Yes, great, a groundbreaking book on existentialism. One of my favorite books.
Exactly for this
The
time.
Myth of Sisyphus. In English translation, that is The Myth of Sisyphus by Albert Camus. When it comes to Albert Camus, we talk about Outsider the Flag, but this is a phenomenal, groundbreaking work in world literature and philosophy. Many thanks for mentioning this. Thank you.
Yeah. This poem is only in Spanish, so I'm sorry. You can hear it with your souls. El mito de Sísifo. Alrededor de una esfera terráquea me mimetizo concéntricamente. El yo sobre el yo dentro del yo, hasta olvidar mi forma original. Escalo por las apachetas andinas, trepo por los nórdicos Alpes, y desde sus pendientes me lanzo cual Sísifo, condenado a vivir siempre subiendo y cayendo. Llego al fondo, me rompo, soy ceniza cristal, soy médula cráneo, soy huesos espejo, soy larva lodazal. La columna fragmentada destapa el esqueleto de mi centro, la raquídea metamorfosis del agujero. Entro a la fisura, al silem del hueco, al pozo contenido, vértebra, vértebra, encarnación tras encarnación. Y es ahora, al lamer el suelo, sumergida en tierra y humus, cubierta de abono y musgo, en que al fin soy y mi cadáver florece. This other poem has joica. A joik is a type of singing of the Sami people in Sweden. My mother is from Sweden, so I have the two cultures in myself. So
Wow.
the name is Extática. Caminar a través del oráculo, vaticinando percusiones en el éxtasis de las plantas. Ser el ícaro de las aves, interpretando trinos para dejar de escuchar voces. Inventar el pulso de la noche, desafiar su letanía, su cadencia y sus confines. Sujetarse a los tambores, huancara, kultrún, dolak, troll, trumma. Desaparecer en el ritmo, interceder en el redoble. Entrar en el trance tribal, siendo proyectil de animales y acróstico de dimensiones. Thank you.
Micaela, you brought immense joy with this melody, with this music, actually, in this difficult time. This is so demanded now. So it's very demanding and very covetable music. And that's why we do another session of music, actually, because music heals. And then you definitely brought a huge joy in this session by your beautiful, melodious voice. Thank you. Melodious singing as well. Any other, you can perhaps read another poem before we move on to the next one.
Yeah, of course. This poem is about the death. Corro entre las espigas, cortando la maleza de mis otras muertes, exhalando hacia el viento la marchitez, la capa reseca, el óxido arcano, guadaña del fin de ciclo, extracción de mí misma, perforando lodos, talando ébano, arrancando mala hierba, repto en torno a la maldición del 13, por autosugestión o rito hipnotista de Hécate y sus serpientes. Inmunizo a la guerra humana, a la primera, a la segunda, a la tercera. Salto entre los huesos de la intimidad bélica. Fecundo restos para el parto múltiple de la Santa Madre Muerte que repoblará el planeta. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. Our next poet again is Kamal Chowdhury. Kamal bhai, এখন কি মানে পাঠ করবেন, কবিতা পাঠ করবেন তো বটেই, কবিতা পাঠের আগে কি পড়ছেন এই প্রশ্নটার সামনে যদি অসহায় বোধ না করেন, অসহায় এই কারণে যে অনেক কিছু পড়া, আমাদের পড়াগুলো তো এত মানে বইয়ের মানে টেবিলের পড়তে পড়তে বই থাকে, তো বুঝতে পারছি এই দৃশ্যটা দেখতে পাচ্ছি। তো এই প্রশ্নের সামনে এক ধরনের অসহায় বোধ করা যে কি বইয়ের কথা বলবো, অজস্র জিনিস মাথায় ঘুরছে, অজস্র জিনিস একসঙ্গে পড়ছি, কিন্তু যদি ব্রিফলি বলা যায়, what are you reading at this moment?
It's about reading books. In fact, I'm not a good reader now because it has become very difficult for me to concentrate in one book. That is the main problem. But I'm reading so many books at a time. So many books in the sense that you see, now I'm reading Robert Bly's American poet, you know, his poems, and also one book of Liquid Society of Umberto Eco, And
Umberto Eco is, oh, great, fantastic.
and also
Angelina.
a book of Mary Oliver.
Right.
She died recently, Upstream. And again, I'm reading Bangla Kobita. I mean,
কিছুদিন
again, I'm
আগে
reading Vishnu De and Sudhin
বাহ
Datto. Because I am trying to
হুম
understand again these two great poets, and also, you see, of course, Rabindranath is always ours. This is the companion. So,
না এটা মানে
so
একটা
many
জিনিস
books. In
এড
fact,
করতে
I
চাই
cannot
কামাল
say
ভাই
you,
যেহেতু
but another one thing is that right now I'm serving as the chief coordinator of the Father of the Nation Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman's birth centenary. So that's why in
বাহ
fact
বাহ
many books on Bangabandhu also. In fact, I am reading because every day we are making some programs on Bangabandhu. So that is also one of my
বাহ
tasks. But other than this, in fact, you understand. অনেক বই একসাথে আমরা যারা পড়ি আর কি, সবার কবিতা
গ্রেট
পড়ি।
হ্যাঁ
আবার আমার
একদম
তরুণ কবিদের অনেক কবিতার বই পড়া বাকি ছিল। In fact, the young poets of
বাহ
Bangladesh. Bangladesh is a country of poets, you see, and also not only Bangladesh, you see,
ট্রু
and West Bengal also.
আনডাউটেডলি
So I'm reading their poems also.
উম্বেটো একোর কথা বললেন, জাস্ট ইউ মেনশন অ্যাবাউট উম্বেটো একো। কিছুদিন আগে সালমান রুশদি রোট সামথিং অন উম্বেটো একো, একদম ধুয়ে দিয়েছে আর কি। আমি দেখি আপনাকে ওইটা পাঠাতে পারি কিনা।
পাঠিয়ে দিয়ে
থ্যাংক ইউ।
রাখি, জাস্ট দেখছি
হ্যাঁ
পড়ে।
থ্যাংক ইউ
But
কামাল ভাই। ইয়ে
basically,
হলো
in fact,
একটু আপনার হ্যাঁ
হ্যাঁ, but
কবিতা শুনতে চাই।
I also love to read history, anthropology, because I did my higher education, in fact, a degree in anthropology. So I'm very interested in anthropology also. So in fact, it's very difficult to be concentrated in one book or something like that. Okay, let me what I read now after the lyrical poem of Mendoza. So it's a very interesting lyrical poem. At least we didn't understand, but we can. Your lyric that has touched us, our heart. Okay, my poem. বাংলা পড়ি আগে, তারপর
একদম
ইংরেজি।
প্লিজ ডু
ওকে,
প্লিজ ডু।
কবিতার নাম ভাসমান, বেশ আগের লেখা একটা কবিতা। পাখির উড়াল আর পাখিদের কষ্ট দেখতে দেখতে ছেড়ে গেছে আমার জাহাজ। মগজের কোষে কোষে হানা দিচ্ছে দিক চক্রবাল। নাবিকের তীব্র নেশা হারপুনে গেঁথে নিচ্ছে লবণ সাগর। প্রাচীন অসুখ থেকে উঠে এসে এখন ঘুরিয়ে দেব কম্পাসের কাঁটা তোমার ধুলোর দিকে, তোমার মাটির দিকে, আর আমি সমুদ্রে যাব না। তিমি শিকারীর চোখে কাঁপছে পৃথিবী, তিমি শিকারীর চোখে কাঁপছে পৃথিবী। শীত এসে যাচ্ছে ফের, গত শীতে এভাবে কেঁপেছি। বন্দরে বন্দরে ঘুরে হিমাঙ্কের নিচে এত এত অভিজ্ঞতা, অথচ তোমরা জানো আদি তুষারের যুগে নুহের নৌকায় তোমার মাটির দিকে ফিরে যেতে যেতে আমারও শরীরে ছিল উষ্ণ রক্ত। আমারও বন্ধু ছিল ঠোঁটে খড় নিয়ে উড়ে যাওয়া পাখি। আমারও বন্ধু ছিল ঠোঁটে খড় নিয়ে উড়ে আসা পাখি। The Floating Earth, translated by Professor Harun Rashid. As I kept looking at the flight of birds and their misery, our ship left the harbor. The firmament is assaulting every brain cell. The salines is harpooning the sailor's passion. Recovering from a primitive ailment, I will now turn around the hand of the compass towards your dust, your earth. I shall not go to sea anymore. The earth's shadow is trembling in the eyes of the whale hunter. Winter is setting in once again. Last winter, I trembled like this, traveling from port to port in a weather below freezing point, gathering experience galore. But you know, during the ice age, when I was returning to your earth, I had warm blood in my veins. The bird with a straw in its beak was my friend too. So my second poem, should I read another one poem? Yeah.
Please,
Okay, my
please do.
second poem that is on our father of the nation. I have told you earlier that this is
Yeah.
this year is the birth centenary celebration year of. In fact, we are celebrating birth centenary of our father of the nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh
And are you
Mujibur
also
Rahman.
coordinating that festival,
Yeah.
festival of birth centenary of right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
So
Quite busy man
so
now.
many,
Very busy man now.
so many poems. In fact, the numerous poems, in
Right.
fact, have been written on Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. Our poets, in fact, they paid their, you see, the tribute to Bangabandhu through many, in fact, poems. So this is a poem written by me on Bangabandhu. Bangabandhu Museum is now in Tungipara. He was born in Tungipara village, but now Tungipara is a sub-district. It is now under Gopalganj district. And the poem I am reading in Bangla first. টুঙ্গিপাড়ায় ঘুমাও বাংলাদেশ, চশমা দেখে যায় তোমাকে চেনা, পাইপে আছে ঋণ মোরের ঘ্রাণ, হাজার বছর পদব্রজের মাটি, তোমার হাতে সার্বভৌম প্রাণ। তর্জনীতে এক সাগরের জলে, ভারত মহাসাগর কম্পমান, কাদামাটির তীব্র মাতৃদেশে যাচ্ছে শোনা স্বাধীনতার গান। তোমার ডাকে মাঠ হয়ে যায় দেশ, আমরা তাদের ভাত পানিতে মারি, আর দাবায় রাখতে পারবা না, সব হৃদয়ে মুজিব তরবারি। মার্চে দেখে উদ্যানে লাল ফুল, মার্চে সবাই আগুন কালের ভাই, মহাকালের সেই বিকেলের রোদে উন্নত শির তোমায় দেখতে পাই। তুমি আমার নির্বাসনের দিন, বনবাদারে যুদ্ধ দিনের রাত, ভয় করি না অভয় বাণী তুমি, সব হানাদার শত্রু কুপকার। উদ্যানে ফের দাঁড়িয়ে আছো দেখি, ফিরছো তুমি নিত্য প্রতিদিন, বিজয় শেষে ফিরছে স্বাধীনতা, ফিরছে আমার বাংলা মায়ের ঋণ। তবু আমি রক্ত লেখা লিখি, তবু আমি রক্ত লেখা লিখি, তবুও লিখি অশ্রু সরোবর, একটি ঝরা পাতার পাশে লিখি শোকার্ত ফুল স্মৃতি ও মর্মর। তুমি ছিলে, থাকবে চিরকাল, চিরন্তন শিখায় জ্বলছে আলো, টুঙ্গিপাড়ায় ঘুমাও বাংলাদেশ, টুঙ্গিপাড়ায় ঘুমাও বাংলাদেশ। সব বাঙালির বুকে আগুন জ্বালো, সব বাঙালির বুকে আগুন জ্বালো। The translation is done by Samrita Urmi Ganguly. She is from Kolkata. Recently, she translated this poem. May you rest in Tungipara, motherland. I recognize you by your glasses. Your pipe still sweats like Erinmos of yore. Having marched through years of dirt and toil, you held the key at last of our sovereignty, the freedom of our soil. With your raised finger, You could once shake up raging oceans. So now we hear in our motherland songs of glory, of freedom. In March, red flowers blossom in bowers. In March, people have fire in their eyes. And in the red light of the springtime sun, I see you head held high. I see you head held high. You are my days of exile. You are the night rest to my wars and my strife. I fear no one, no soldiers, no enemies, for you are my guiding light. I see you blooming in the orchards every day, daily. This war has given us our long sought freedom, and to you we owe our liberty. I write still with letters of blood. I write with my tears and my sweat. I write next to fallen lips, flowers sigh, memories make my eyes wet. You are, and you will forever be, the eternal light burning on the highest mountain peak. In Tungipara, may you find sleep, son of my motherland. May you keep igniting with your bright our homeland. Oh, Father, our homeland. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Beautiful. Mitul, if you kindly read some audience's feedback, audience's comment before we move on to the next poet. But in the meantime, Kamal Bhai, many thanks for your beautiful input and wonderful reading.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Habibur Rahman Inar, Darun Lakche Kobi, Shubhokamona. Geeta Upadhyaya, Bangladesh is such a creative country whose poetry and music is so moving and takes one with its flow, as does Ganga flows into the gentle Padma and mingle with the Yamuna. So
What a
did
beautiful
poem
comment. Yeah.
and music through their creativity and take us into another realm. Namaskar.
Gitaji, I didn't know you loved Bangladesh so much. Many thanks for your wonderful and very inspiring comment, especially when you do serious musical, especially classical music event. And now it's amazing to see that you love poetry so much and you love Bangladesh equally as its poetry. Habibur Rahman Enar is a poet and also an editor of a little magazine called Kwab. Many thanks for watching. Please go on, Mitul.
প্রেম সুপ্রতীক দাস, এটি একটি সুন্দর আয়োজন। মোল্লা মাহফুজাল হুসাইন, কি মুগ্ধকর অভিব্যক্তি! কবি কামাল চৌধুরীর কবিতায় টুঙ্গিপাড়ায় ঘুমাও বাংলাদেশ, বঙ্গবন্ধু শেখ মুজিবুর রহমানকে নিবেদিত কবি কামাল চৌধুরীর অসাধারণ কবিতা। Muhammad
Exactly.
Kamal Chowdhury is one of the great poets of Bangla literature. V. Mon Oliet, amazing Micaela Mendoza, Neo AF, excellente Hamahada. I hope I've read it right. Then Gautam Guharai, Kamal Chowdhury, Kamal Bhai, Jofi Shetu, wow, it's really amazing to be connected with poet Max Jones, Alireza Abiz, Kamal Chowdhury, Micaela Mendoza Hagglund, and Ranjit Dash. I'm here and enjoying too. Love you all. Jauhar Hussain, Ranjit Dash's poems are very touching and powerful. He has to be one of my favorite poets. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you, Mitul. Our next poet is Alireza Abiz. Alireza, if you kindly, well, you can talk perhaps about what you're reading, if you wish to. This is up to you actually, because we are very keen to know what the poets are doing in this pandemic, in this difficult time, and how they're spending. It could be equally inspirational for the audiences as well. to find out. Perhaps through this talk, they may find a book, a reference of a book, quite interesting. So if you kindly tell us how you're spending your time now, especially from reading point of view, and then if you kindly read your rest of the poems. You are on mute, Alireza, you are on mute. So if you kindly unmute yourself.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for the question. I still have my daily job, which is actually taking more than it used to before the lockdown. And I am also involved in a few art literature projects, which I run myself. So one is that we produce short videos in Persian on art and also on literature, and we broadcast it through Persian social media. I also manage a podcast. So we produce one hour podcast every 2 weeks. And all of this takes a huge time. So the last podcast that we did was on Virginia Woolf, actually letters of condolences. So the next one I'm doing is a podcast I'm making on Basil Bunting and his Persian interactions with Persia, because he was dismissed. He was actually deported from Iran as a British spy, but at the same time, he is a well-known poet of the modernist movement. So I am writing, right now I am writing my next podcast on him and his special relation with Persia. Yeah. So the next poem I'm going to read you, because I just want to give you a flavor of the Persian musicality. So I read the Persian as well. If you,
Great.
And then I will read the English. So first the Persian. ساعت سعد. ای پسر پدرت، ای شاعر سرگردان، بدان و آگاه باش که قمر در عقرب است و ساعت زحل است و نحس اکبر است. پس لب فروبند و دیده فروبند و دل فروبند تا خورشید چون تشت خونینی از چاه مغرب برآید، بویی سپید از جانب شمال به هوا پرد و مردمان چون برگ پاییزی بر زمین افتند. بهرام را ببین که پیچ و تاب می‌خورد و هر دم سرخ‌تر می‌شود و بیادار که دوزخ در این ساعت آفریده شد و بشارت یافته ایم که طوفان فرا خواهد رسید و جنگ و خرابی ها که مقرر شده خواهد آورد. پس ای پسر پدرت، ای شاعر تبعیدی، بگو که جامه نو ندوزند و خانه و سرای نروبند و به کس دل نبندند که جهان چون گوی گردانی از منجنیق رها شده است و ما از کنارهای زمین آویخته ایم. در ایستگاه تاتنام کورت رود مرد ژنده پوش بر کلیدهای پیانو میکوبد. The title of this poem is Kairos, which is a Greek word meaning good omen. It's actually that an hour in a day that the ancient Greeks believed it's the best time to do something. So it's a kind of belief of the ancient people that, for example, if you want to start a job, the best time to start is Monday morning. Just imagine. So this is the meaning of Kairos. And Well, I'm talking about the Mars, which is the god of war, as you all well know. And there is a reference, an allusion to the Old Testament as well, to the book of Daniel, when it says there will be flood. This is the promise of destruction. So here it goes, the English. Kairos. Hey, you, son of your father, the wandering poet. Know and beware that the moon is in Scorpio, and it's the hour of Saturn and the darkest omen. Seal your lips, seal your eyes, seal your heart. The sun rises from the well of the west like a blood-filled vat, and the white swan flies off the north into the sky, and people fall on the ground like autumn leaves. Look at Mars twisting, it gets redder and redder. Remember that hell was created at this hour, and we have been promised that the flood will arrive, and there will be war, desolation decreed. So you, son of your father, the exiled poet, tell them not to sew new clothes and not to sweep the house and the yard and not to charm or be charmed. The word has been shot from a catapult like a rolling ball, and we are hanging on the edges of the earth. Inside Tottenham Court Road Station, the ragged man punches piano keys. Thank you. Thank you. Shall I read another as well?
Yeah, please do, please.
Okay, thank you. This one I only read the English. It is called The Fly.
Right. Right.
I chased the fly out of the kitchen. He will die tonight. I opened the door onto the yard, and many times I shooed him out with the yellow napkin, and each time he came back in. In a small saucepan on the stove, I was cooking black-eyed beans. The fly flew toward the pan, drinking in the stem from the beans. I swatted at him with the napkin, careful not to hit him. I don't want his blood on my hands. He made a turn and hid under the table. I could easily have grabbed him. I was scared I would catch germs and kill the fly as well. I don't want his death to be at my hand. I chased him out with the yellow napkin and quickly closed the door. If I want to have a smoke in the yard, I must remember to shut the door after me. If the fly were smart, he would go and sit on that vent. Is it from the boiler? There is always warm steam there. I don't think he is that intelligent, and I wouldn't know how to explain this to him. And anyway, he is not going to last the winter, is he? Thank you very much.
Many thanks, Alireza, again, for taking us to the world of magic, the world of the hunting verses, the power of verses, the beauty of verses. Let us have a few more, perhaps, comments from audiences before we move into the next one, which is Ranjit Dash. Mitul, if you kindly add some, read some comment, or three perhaps in the end, because we are approaching to the end of this session now, gradually.
Deeparani Bhattacharya, love for all. Gauri Chowdhury, hello everyone. Then
Gauri Chowdhury is a phenomenal singer, a versatile interpreter of Indian music here in the West. Many thanks, Gauri Chowdhury, for watching this. Yeah.
Geeta Upadhyaya, thank you, Kaysher-ji. It was such an uplifting afternoon. I'm going to do a storytelling session now, so I have to leave, but look forward to speaking to you soon. Deep regards. Taposh Roy,
Sure.
so profound. Thank you.
Taposh Raji is also another firm supporter of Shodho and firm supporter of Indian classical music. Many thanks, Taposhji, for watching, and many thanks for your wonderful input. গৌতম দা আপনার কাছে আসছি, কবিতাই শুনি। আসলে কবিদের কাছে কথা তো বটেই, এটা এর কথা শুরু হলে এটা আমার ভয় লাগে। অনেক অনেক শব্দ আছে, মানে এগুলো আনএন্ডিং, মানে একটা প্রসঙ্গ যখনই শুরু হয় তখন প্রসঙ্গের ভিতরে আরো নানা রকমের থাকে, নানা রকমের প্রসঙ্গান্তরে চলে যাবার ভয় থাকে, যেহেতু আমাদের একটা সময় লিমিটেড থাকে। আর রণজিৎদার কবিতা আমি অনেক আগে থেকেই পাঠ করি, আমি বলেছি বোধহয় কথায় কথায়। একটা লাইন খুব মনে ধরে, আমার কি কবি মানো অঝোর শ্রাবণ। একটা কি অদ্ভুত কাঙালিপনা আছে, কবিও কাঙ্গাল। রণজিৎদা, আপনার কবিতাই শুনি, অথবা আপনার সময় কিরকম কাটছে এটা নিয়ে যদি if you would like to share briefly, that would be a joy as well. That would be joy for myself and for my audience, for our audience.
But from your body language, I gather that the time is ending. So I would love to read 3 or 4 poems of mine for which I'm prepared. So the proof of pudding is in the eating. So I will, one thing I must report, that you have been asking about the books the poets are reading, the participating poets. As for myself, right from the Unlock 1 and Unlock 2 in India, I have been moving outside. I have never been afraid of Corona. Okay. Just yesterday, and that's why what I don't know, because I'm a reclusive kind of person. But now I think this Corona paranoia has such demonic proportions because of the social media and overhype, that I move out myself. I take my photos asking the passersby and send these photos to my friends who are very afraid of the Corona situation and taking all sorts of precautions. So even yesterday, I went to Park Street, Oxford bookstore, and bought, I think, a very exciting book. I don't know whether this can be shown in your TV screen. This is by Ian McEwan.
Oh,
Missions with Me.
We can't see the full thingy. Sorry, what was the title of the book?
Missions Like Me.
Oh, Missions Like Me, right, okay.
And people like you. It's the latest offering. So I think it's going to be a very exciting book. It's about the artificial humans and the real humans.
Wow, very interesting.
Going to be very ethical debates and all. But this is from my side to report that I have spent the whole day outside in Kolkata. I went to Park Street. I had my coffee and purchased books. Then I walked along to New Market. My Bangladeshi friends come to Marquis Street. The hotels over there looks like graveyard. So I missed them. Then I took another crowded bus, came to my College Street Coffee House, which is my second home, took one cup of coffee, which is a liquor for inspiration, then took another crowded bus and returned home. So this is a poet's life in the time of Corona, as far as I am concerned. So now, should I read 3 or 4 of my poems? Do you have time?
Please do. Please do.
Thank you. Right? Should I read?
Please do.
Kaysher?
Yeah, yeah.
Alien. First, I will read the original Bengali and then I will read the English translation. One interesting thing, the Bengali listeners, whoever is listening, they will perhaps notice, I should point out that when I read the English version, it has become a different poem. The theme is the same, the name is the same, but since I am the translator, so I don't face any limitation about being faithful to the original and all. So that's a very interesting. The 2 poems I'm going to read. The Bengali version is one poem, and the English version is another poem. The theme is the same. So
it's another poem. That's understandable. That's understandable. Yeah.
So it's a very interesting from many points of view, academic points and all. Anyway, Alien. Robotera বসে আছে, metro rail থমথম করে. Is the sound okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
Sound okay? রোবটেরা বসে আছে, মেট্রো রেল থমথম করে, সারি সারি হেঁট মাথা মোবাইলে নিবদ্ধ, কানে গোঁজা হেডফোন, মুখে কাঁপছে মোবাইল স্ক্রিনের লাল নীল আলো, যেন শয়তানের সার্চ লাইট, যেন নীল তিমি গেম খেলার মারণ ইশারা। রোবট না এলিয়েন, পৃথিবীর দিকে মুখ তুলছে না কেউ। রোবট না এলিয়েন, মানুষের দিকে মুখ তুলছে না কেউ। সামনে দাঁড়িয়ে কারা, বন্ধু, নারী, ক্লান্ত বৃদ্ধ, ঝাউবন, সমুদ্রের ঢেউ, ভার্চুয়ালে নিমজ্জিত, জগতের দিকে মুখ তুলছে না কেউ। রৌদ্রে মেঘে শস্যে প্রেমে নির্বিকার ভ্রুক্ষেপহীন, ডিজিটাল সম্মোহনে তৈরি হচ্ছে সাইবর্গ, মুছে যাচ্ছে মানব জমিন। সন্ধ্যার ভূগর্ভ রেলে আমি ভয়ে নির্বাক বিষণ্ণ, সারি সারি বসে আছে মোবাইলে নিবদ্ধ মুখ, ছদ্মবেশী স্তব্ধ এলিয়েন, আমি তার মধ্যে একা, পৃথিবীর লুপ্তপ্রায় অন্তিম মানুষ, হাতে একটি নাক্ষত্রিক কবিতার বই, তাতে লুক্কায়িত জীবনের সমুদ্র সফেন। Thank you. Now it's the English version translated by myself, but it has become a different poem. Aliens in the metro. Aliens are seated in the metro rail with their eyes glued to their smartphones and their headphones plugged into their ears. They have shut out the Earth's reality around them. Their faces are robotic and restless, being totally commanded by the signals of the virtual world. Rows and rows of these seated aliens make a grim and scary sight. The coach has a few near extinct humans too, some old and weak and desolate humans, some non-digital, non-virtual reality dwelling humans who are standing before these aloof aliens like poor barbarians, despised and ignored. Their eyes are full of ancient despair, like the eyes of mountain gorillas in Africa. One frail old man is clutching a real poetry book in his hand, like a priest clutching a cross in a dark place haunted by the digital devil. Everything in the coach is trembling to be transformed into the icons of a video game. The metro rail is hurtling towards the comic book of pure evil. So, my next poem is another poem on love. As you have started this session broadly on the theme of love. So here I go. First the Bengali version. Expiry date. প্রতিটি প্রেমের গায়ে এক্সপায়ারি ডেট লেখা থাকে। চুম্বনের আগে তুমি হাঁটু গেড়ে বসে প্রেমিকার শরীরটি ঈষৎ ঘুরিয়ে তার বঙ্কিম কোমরের খাঁজে বিন্দু বিন্দু রোমকূপে ব্রেইল হরফে লেখা সেই গুঁড়ো মুদ্রিত তারিখ অন্ধের আঙুলে পড়ে নিও এবং দাঁড়িয়ে উঠে পুনর্বার চুম্বনের আগে তীক্ষ্ণ চোখে দেখে নিও প্রেমিকার চোখে সেই গুপ্ত তারিখেরই নিয়ন সংকেত ট্রাফিক আলোর মতো জ্বলে আর নেভে। এবারে চুম্বন করো, অনিবার্য বিচ্ছেদের ত্রাসে ক্ষিপ্ত পাগলের মতো যখন তখন। প্রতিটি চুম্বনই হলো বিদায়ী চুম্বন। প্রতিটি প্রেমের গায়ে এক্সপায়ারি ডেট লেখা থাকে। চুম্বন করার আগে অন্ধের আঙুলে তুমি পড়ে নিও তাকে। Expiry date.
Bah.
Expiry date is inscribed on each body of love. Before you kiss her for the first time, kneel down before her and read that date secretly embossed in the skin pores of her waist, like a blind man reading a braille script with his probing fingers. Then you stand up and look sharply into her eyes to find that the same expiry date is faintly blinking in her eyes like a hazy flight signal in the departure lounge of love. And now you start kissing her like a frenzied lover in desperate fits, knowing fully well that every kiss is a parting kiss. Thank you. My next poem, it's a very short poem. ঈশ্বরের চোখ। আমাদের শরীরের প্রতিটি ফুটোয় জেগে আছে ঈশ্বরের চোখ। ভিতরে চক্রান্ত, চাঁদ, নিহত বন্ধুর রক্ত, কৃমি, কীট, উলঙ্গ রাক্ষস। ভিতরে মুখোশ, জুয়া, নাচ, মদ, বেশ্যাদের হাসি। তিনি দেখছেন ঠিক যেভাবে বালক তার পিতৃঘাতকের সঙ্গে নিজের মায়ের অবৈধ সঙ্গম দৃশ্য দেখে।
Bravo. Bah.
God's eyes. Through every peeping hole of our body, God's eyes are watching us. Inside, conspiracies are being hatched under a sly moon. A murdered friend's blood is trickling into a silent pool. Inside, there are gambling dens, dance orgies, booze, and laughter of whores. He is watching, like a boy who watches his mother having illicit sex with his father's assassin. And now I should read out my last poem. Kobi Potni. This will be my last offering. Kobi Potni. দরজা খোলেন তিনি, অন্তর্গত কুয়াশা ও শীতে ডাকেন সাদরে। আমরা নিঃশব্দে প্রবেশ করি কবির বাড়িতে। বিষাদ প্রতিমা তিনি, মুখে ম্লান হাসি। আমরা উপেক্ষা করি, আমাদের মন শুধু দর্পিত ও স্বেচ্ছাচারী কবির প্রত্যাশী। বিষাদ প্রতিমা তিনি, আমাদের আপ্যায়নে সর্বদা সজাগ। তবুও কবির চোখে তার প্রতি ভ্রুকুটি বিরাগ। তিনি কবি পত্নী, তিনি কাব্যে উপেক্ষিতা। আমাদের লক্ষ্য শুধু কবির রক্ষিতা, আর তার কামনার উদ্দাম আগুনে দীপ্ত কবির কবিতা। সেসব কবিতা ঘিরে আমাদের জয়ধ্বনি শেষ নেই কোনো। অবৈধ সঙ্গম ছাড়া সুখ নেই কবিতা প্রেমের। তবুও নিষ্কম্প হাতে তিনিই খোলেন দরজা। আমরাও ঢুকে পড়ি তস্করের প্রায় কবির অবৈধ কবিতায়। নীরবে দেখেন তিনি, পৃথিবীর আলো নিভে যায়। Poet's wife.
Thank you. Right.
Time is over.
Many thanks. Hello.
Time is over. Should I stop?
No, that's fine. Yeah. So did you? Is it the last one that you read, or you're trying?
This one is the last English translation of the Poet's Wife. The
Right.
Bengali I did.
Okay. Please go on. Yeah. Let us finish. Let's see. So English version. Okay.
Should I read? Should I read?
Yeah, please do. Please do.
Okay.
Ranjit, you can read your English translation. Yes.
Yeah. Poet's Wife. We go to meet the dashing poet, and she opens the door for us. A silhouette of sadness, she is the poet's humble wife. Always timid and pale, always afraid of the poet's violent scorn, she is the poet's wife. We avoid looking at her melancholy face that seems to cast a mournful glance on the very nature of our art. The dashing poet greets us in his room with the wry smile of a veteran debauch. He shakes our hands and compulsively winks at us, as he constantly does at everything under the sun. He is in great spirits and states telling us the hot account of his latest conquest in a recent party. But the poet's wife enters the room and serves tea and snacks for us. The poet falls silent, like a culprit before a cop, until she goes out of the room. Before leaving, she casts a pitiable glance at the poet, as if to imply that these forced moments of silence might be the only moments of dignity in her husband's debased life. And it's strange that even we, the visitors, feel guilty in her presence, like imaginary accomplices in the poet's flings. But frankly, nobody is bothered about the poet's wife. Everybody longs for the poet's mistress and for the poet's last full poems inspired by her. Only forbidden love is worshipped in art. We always idolize the poet's mistress and give a damn about the poet's wife. In fact, we perpetuate the cult of adultery in poetry. The poet's wife takes all this humiliation in her stride with a quiet dignity. She takes good care of the poet, and she always serves tea and snacks for us with a genuine, kind smile. The pure sadness of her smile diminishes us to mere pimps of pleasure. I personally feel shame, and I find a strange little atonement in presence of her. I have come to believe that if you really want to evaluate a poet, first see the poet's wife. Thank you.
Many thanks, Ranjit, for reading these powerful poems, and especially your reading was equally interesting as well, equally mesmerizing. Let us have our last poet, Matt Jones. Can we go straight to your reading, Matt, your rest of the poems?
Sure, I hope it's more audible this time.
Yeah, I think, yes.
This is a short one. This short piece, I suppose, goes on the thoughts of how we never show the whole of ourselves to one person. We show ourselves in a multitude of little snatches to a multitude of people with scratches. I went into the woods, and one by one I scratched on every tree, gave them each a tiny piece of anger to enjoy, gave them each a piece of hurt to carry in the wind, to bury into earth, to raise triumphant into forest sky. Perhaps beneath the ground, where clever tendrils meet. They all share amongst themselves, or in the air, the tasty air, and they're touching their conversation made of waves. We'll piece them all together, all the tiny scratches, held between the underwreathing canopy, this quiet wander in the woods. I hope that was legible, signal strong enough. Shall I try another?
Yeah, you can go for another.
Would you like another one? Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah. With a bit of difficulties, yes.
I had this one for a very, yeah.
Please go on.
I'll try another one, very short, simple one.
Okay, okay.
For the goddess Freya. Freya is a goddess out of Norse mythology, who, amongst other things, has a cloak made of falcon's wings, with which she flies around the world in search of many things. And I wrote this one of a moment, perhaps she's tired and comes out to her for a rest. The title is Fokjafjafri, which is Icelandic for falcon feathers. When the bird settles, whipped as it was by crosswinds and victors, tired wings, letting the cloak fall away, it is as if she has alighted on her own heart. Falcon Freya weeps tears from her fierceness, amber and gold, knows their necessity, lifts once more to fly, strength of wind revived. I think it's a phone call going on, isn't there? Sorry, I had someone else speaking. Lifts once more to fly, strength of mind revived, knows the world will take her weight, as will the sky. Freya,
many thanks, Matt.
Moments of weariness, need that touch of revival. Thank you. Apologies for the technical.
No, that's fine. Thank you very much. We actually approached to the end of today's session. Many thanks to all of the audiences who left inspiring, beautiful comments, and many thanks to all of the poets who joined from different parts of the globe and shared the artistry and beauty of the construction of words. The power of the construction of words, actually. Let us have the concluding note from all of our panelists. Let us start from Micaela. If you kindly add your concluding note before we finish.
Thank you for organizing this world meeting, and I hope you can understand my work when when I send the poems to the Gronthee. Thank you.
Exactly. Thank you very much. This is also aiming to connect and associate with poets from different languages, different culture, and then bring them together under humanity. So please keep in touch. We will be in touch. We will be in touch through the thread of poetry, through the flow of poetry, and especially we are aiming to do International Poetry Festival perhaps next year. Many thanks, Micaela, for joining. Kamal Chowdhury, Kamal Bhai, if you kindly add your concluding note before you finish. And many thanks for joining and inputting, contributing this session so meaningfully. You are on mute, Kamal Bhai.
Kindly unmute Kamal Bhai. Kamal Bhai, আমরা শুনতে পাচ্ছি না।
Kamal Bhai is on mute. Kamal Bhai, can you hear me? Yes.
Okay, so now it's
Perhaps
okay.
if you are,
Ajay, thank you very much.
Yes,
My best
yes,
wishes to
you can.
all poets. In fact, I will leave now, and that's why I will not be able to listen other poets' comment. But you see, I enjoyed this session, and obviously this is a very wonderful session. And we read many poems, and through these from Iranian poet and Mr. Matt from poet from UK and poet from Bolivia. Many, in fact, so this is a international poetry session. So we enjoyed this session. So thank you once again. But please forgive me because I am leaving now because I have another just.
No, that's fine. That's
right
fine.
now.
Thank
So
you.
thank you very much. Thank you, Kaysher. Thank you, Shamim and Mituli, for wonderful. You see the presentation and everything. Yeah.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you. Very much.
Many thanks. Many thanks. Alireza, if you kindly add your concluding note before you finish. Thank you.
Yeah, I have nothing but thanks and gratitude to you, Ahmed, to Shamim, to Mituli for all the hard work they did. And it was a great pleasure to meet fascinating poets from different cultures and backgrounds. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Gautam Da, if you kindly add your concluding note, please.
Ranjit Da.
Oh, sorry, Ranjit Da. Ranjit Da, sorry, I'm reading.
Gautam, good name, Gautama Buddha. So my concluding note would be, and you know, in Bengali, Buddha is a very loving word.
Exactly, saint of poetry, because you are a saint of poetry. That's why perhaps mistakenly I keep.
So anyway, I loved it.
Please.
I loved it. At this age, beyond 70, I got another name, Gautama Buddha. Anyway, my concluding note would be, first thing, I would heartily congratulate Gronthee, Kaysher, Shamim, Mitul, and all for conceiving and implementing this kind of international poetry reading program on the virtual platform in such a manner. So it's definitely a praiseworthy effort. And on the personal note, I would say I would echo Alireza, my participant poet, and I will avoid the word love. I will pick up the word he choose, compassion. I will only hope that the spirit of poetry and compassion will triumph over the gloom of these difficult times. Thank you.
Thank you, Ranjit Da. Mark, if you kindly add your concluding notes before we finish.
I actually appreciate being in this circle and included in all the work that you do. It's hugely admirable, and wish you every success of it continuing. Wonderful to see people from around the world also, such beautiful faces. And I hope you stay safe wherever you are, and maybe our paths will cross in the real world at some point.
Thank you. Thank you, Mark. Mitul, if you kindly add your concluding note.
At the start of the show, poet Kamal Chowdhury so rightly said poets are like birds. And I believe in that respect, poetry acts as their wings, which they use as a vehicle to spread humanity, compassion, integrity, harmony across the globe. Immense thanks, love, and respect to the phenomenal 5 poets for joining us today. Thank you.
Shamim Shahan, if you kindly add your concluding note, please. Thank you.
Many thanks, Kaysher. Many thanks poet Kamal Chowdhury, poet Ranjit Dash, Matt Jones, poet Alireza Abiz, and poet Micaela for joining Gronthee initiative 100 poets around the world for love. Many thanks for your beautiful contribution. Just let you all know that poems which have been read and will be read as part of this series are getting published in our next publications, which I believe will serve as a diary for all writer friends around the world. Thank you. Stay well.
Okay.
Many thanks to all of the poets, panelists, and the audiences for your great support. The next session is happening again next Saturday at 4 p.m. UK time. And we will come back with some more phenomenal poets as part of the series, 100 poets around the world for Globe. Many thanks for all the support and all those inspirational comments from the audiences. And have a wonderful rest of the evening, and stay safe. See you soon again.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye, everyone.